welcome to Cooking at the Lake. Today we're joined by Sue Mink, and she's going to show us this fabulous recipe on how to make chaffles. Is that correct, Sue?
Chaffles. Think cheese and waffles.
Chaffles.
Chaffles.
Well, that sounds great. Well, thank you for letting us come into your home
Sure.
today. And how do you do this?
How do I do this? It's actually really, really simple. It's almost embarrassingly simple. Well, the basic chaffle is just 3 ingredients. It's crazy easy. You need an egg.
Well.
1 egg. You need almond flour.
Oh.
And you need cheese. And I generally use mozzarella cheese because it's a milder flavor, although sometimes I use cheddar. That's all you really need for your basic chaffle.
That really sounds delicious and easy. I love this idea of easy. Now, Sue, the cheese and the flour are good for the basic recipe, is that correct?
Right.
When you do the basic recipe, what other ingredients do you use to make it a little different?
Take the plain ones, and we make pizzas. We'll use it for just breakfast to put the mango puree on it. The other thing is, as I said, it makes great eggs Benedict.
Oh, lovely.
But you can take it in a garlic bread.
Okay.
And in that, I use the Romano cheese and garlic powder and Italian herbs that I put in there.
And I noticed some spaghetti sauce. Do you use that spaghetti sauce? Is that the only one you can use?
No, you can use whatever you want. Most of the time I use my own that I make from scratch. I have pumpkin ones, so I have pumpkin pie mix, and there's pureed pumpkin can go in that, and vanilla. And then the one that I really like too is that you can have one with jalapeno poppers.
Whoa.
So you can put the jalapenos in there. You make it with cheddar cheese. You make it with cream cheese.
Oh, lovely. Look at that.
Yeah, and you can put bacon bits in there too.
And it's endless, it sounds like. It really is.
If you go up online, you'll find a million recipes that you can do with it. Some of them are good, some of them,
no, I understand.
You want to try them.
Well, when you first talked about these, you said that they were gluten-free and carbo-free.
Right.
And how did you get into them? Because that's what fascinated me.
Well, it started because I lost 45 pounds trying to eat low carb and cutting out sugar. So I didn't want to eat bread anymore. But, you want a burger or you want to, it's really hard to give up bread. You want something other than bread. So I went looking around to try to figure it out. And I found out about these chaffles, and I started making them from there. At this point, my husband prefers chaffles to hamburger rolls to, he would much rather have the chaffles.
Well, that's really fascinating, and that's really important too. I know I give up bread during Lent, and I can feel the difference in my system, but I also give up butter. So I don't know if it's the bread or if it's the butter, but the combination of not having it in my diet, it makes a world of difference, doesn't it?
It does.
I know some people say that, and I really don't believe them, but I really have got to say it does make a difference.
It makes a big difference, and I am right now wearing a glucose monitor because we found out that I am pre-diabetic, and just messing around with the glucose monitor, I ate a piece of bread and I spiked way up to like 160.
Wow.
But I ate a chaffle and nothing.
Well, half the world is diabetic these days. So, I mean, this is a great example of something that you can control in your diet that's similar to what you're used to eating, but that is totally different health-wise. So,
right.
Well, I appreciate you showing us. So let's go ahead and get started.
Yeah. Let's make one.
So, Sue, this looks really exciting. So let's go ahead and start making one.
Okay, it couldn't be easier. So all you do, take an egg. 1 egg makes 2 chaffles. Okay. Now, you need these cute little baby waffle makers.
These?
Yes.
Wow.
Okay. They're called mini dash.
Look at that.
Isn't that? Yeah, some of them have pictures in there.
That's so fun.
They're called mini dashes. And so we have 4 of them because I use them all the time. And we even have one with a different plug for when we travel.
Oh man! Oh, and we're going to get to travel in a minute.
Yeah,
But-
because I use them. I take my mini dash with me when I travel.
Oh,
Need
wow.
it. So mix
I guess
it
that's
up.
not carry-on, is it? Or is it?
No, I check it. Oh no, actually I did carry it on, but they made me open my suitcase.
Oh. They're like, what in the heck is this?
This is put between a half a cup to 3/4 of a cup
Okay.
of mozzarella.
That's a
all.
lot. I mean, for
Well, you're going to
it,
make
yeah.
2.
Okay.
Okay, and this
Now, you always put mozzarella in it or some type of cheese?
some kind of cheese. It's
Okay.
a Chaffle cheese.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, and then about, I guess that's about a tablespoon, I guess.
Okay.
At this point, I've made it so much I just
Measure.
Yeah.
But we'll have the ingredients, so we'll know
Right.
how much to put in there.
Yeah, it's between 3/4 and a half a cup of mozzarella.
So I've never used almond flour before. Tell me a little bit about what you find is the consistency just like flour, and it
It's-
just cuts down on the...
Yeah, it doesn't have any
bad
carbs in it.
requirements? Okay.
It doesn't, no carbs at all. It cooks a little different, and you can actually make chaffles with just eggs and cheese, but this gives it a nicer texture.
Okay.
You're gonna like
All
it
right,
better.
so let me see what this looks like. Man. So the consistency is kind of gloopy,
Yeah, it's
gloppy.
gloopy.
Okay.
It's gloopy.
That's a technical term, I'm
I
sure.
know, it's a cooking term.
But what a beautiful bowl, too.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So all you do is just put like half of this
Oh, yeah.
in each one.
And it's just like a little waffle iron.
It's a baby waffle iron.
That's so cool.
And
Do
they
you
sell
think that you could use a big one, a big
You
waffle
could.
iron?
You know what? You could put this in one and have a bigger one. But it's kind of hard to use it for burgers that way.
Yeah.
A really big burger. I don't know.
But yeah, that's true.
But they sell them on Amazon for like $9.99.
Oh, $9.99. That's not so bad.
And I've seen them in Costco too.
You could do a muffalata. You know how those, they're huge.
You could do that.
Do that with the
You
waffle.
could do
That would be
that.
grey.
Okay.
Okay. So we
the-
started the clock. How long do you think it takes to cook?
Well, probably about 3 minutes. Notice there's a light on here, but I just leave it for a couple minutes and then open it up. The longer it cooks, the crispier it gets.
Okay. And
so,
would that be good like on the hamburger bun, for instance?
like I
Okay.
like it crispy on the hamburger bun. I
Okay.
don't like it quite so crispy when I'm going to have a waffle with this. Or
Okay.
if I'm going to do the eggs Benedict, I don't make it nearly as crispy.
Okay.
So-
It'd be easier to cut with a fork,
Well,
too.
I think it's far superior to the English muffins because
yeah.
the English muffins are, I know, exactly. Yeah, and
Yeah.
this is just a lot nicer.
And then they steam up and they're kind of puffing in the
they're just
the
puffing
thing.
up in
Okay.
there. Yep.
Well, you know,
And-
we just talked about travel, and when I first met you, you and Al travel quite a bit.
We
And
do.
Can you tell everybody about how y'all travel? I think it's unique.
Well, I guess it is. We call it nesting. We go in the spring and then in the fall. We pick a place in the world and we stay there for 3 months. And the reason we do it for 3 months is because you don't really, if you go to a place for a week or a couple days even is what's normal, you're a tourist,
Yeah.
And you hit the high points and then you leave and that's it. But if you go and you live there, you're shopping in the grocery stores and in the markets. You're discovering, you're meeting people, you're making friends in the town. You're learning what it's like to actually live there. You become part of the culture.
That's really amazing because if it were me, I admire you because it seems like a very brave thing to do. Now, I don't just mean because it's a foreign country, but there are situations in anything you do that come up and they're not like what you thought they were going to be.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
What do you do when you first get there to acclimate yourself in a new location? And name some of the locations that you've been to.
I've got a wall right there of pictures. I guess I'll show them.
Yeah.
But the first place we went was York, England, and we went there because we thought it would be the easiest. They speak English,
yeah.
So then we did Florence, Italy. We did Boca de Tor, Panama, Krakow, Poland,
Wow.
Barcelona, Spain, Taipei, Taiwan, Dubrovnik, Croatia,
Wow.
Bucharest, Romania, and then COVID hit, so we did stuff in the United States, Santa Fe, New Mexico, Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina, yeah.
Yeah, Asheville, North Carolina, and then Istanbul.
Sue has a wall
Sydney,
of all of her beautiful locations that she's been. Don't y'all try to get something from every
get
country?
A wall, yeah. Sydney, Australia, Ljubljana, Slovenia, which is like nobody knows where but that is the most beautiful place. And then we just came back from Chiang Mai, Thailand.
Wow.
So.
Well, that's what I mean. I guess in a way you started out slow in a sense to kind of get your bearings, I guess, is part of it. Is that right?
That's right.
And so, but amazing some of the things that you've done. And when you get there, so you go, what do you do first?
What do we do first? Well, the thing you really should ask is, what do we do before we get there?
Ah, that's a good, hold that thought, because I want to look at these as they're coming out. Mm-hmm. Let's see.
This is what they look like when they're done.
Hold that up a little bit. Oh man, that looks delicious.
Well,
and that was only like 3 minutes,
That's
right?
it. You've got it. So now you need to try it.
Okay, all right.
So I'll get a plate and we'll put some mango on it.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
You can try it.
Sounds good. Now, another question I have about, well, tell me a little bit more about the fact of what you do before you go.
Well, what we do is we try to contact organizations that we're part of that are there. The biggest one, the one that we use the most, is Rotary.
Oh, okay, yes.
And so we contact the Rotary clubs and let them know we're coming, and they're very welcoming, and it's wonderful, and most people always speak English, and oh my gosh, when we were in Istanbul, they were so generous. Every place has been generous, but Istanbul was a standout. Here you go.
Thank you.
And the other thing is, my husband's a big bicyclist. We always bring his bicycle, so he contacts bicycling groups to find out where he can bicycle, and then gets together and bicycles with them. There's a group called Internations that we contact that is expats from all over the world, and then they have parties and events and stuff, so we get together with them so that when we get there, we're on the ground running.
Wonderful. That's good. That's good, because there's going to be some things that are going to come up, and you're going to need a contact that's local. That sounds really
well,
pretty
and
cool.
also, I mean, part of it, the point of it is to get to know people.
Yeah.
And if you're there for 3 months, so you need to get on it. When we went to Istanbul, we went to a big party that they had, a big celebration the very next day. We were so jet lagged, but it was really fun.
And I know you've told me that you've gone to weddings, you meet people at the embassies. It's amazing the people that you connect with.
Well, yeah, if you just start out with with working ahead a little bit.
But also opening yourself up
right
to new cultures and people that you would meet. I think that's another thing I very much admire about you and Al.
Thank you.
Because that takes a lot of bravery, gumption, ingenuity, inquisitiveness,
Well, inquisitive. The other thing is, like, I'm going to go home and I'm, if I embarrass myself,
yeah, they're never going to see you again until you go back. That's right. Let me try this puree again. It's so delicious. I can't stop eating it. Sue, that's delicious.
Well, good. So now we're going to make a pizza. And it's just your typical chaffle right there.
But I like the truffle too, just itself. Could you cook these ahead of time and have them for snacks and things like that?
This is the cool thing. They freeze really, really well. You can cook them ahead of time and then just stick them in a toaster or, put them under the broiler or something.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You could make a whole bunch of these and then decide that, whatever you're going to do with them. But they freeze too.
Wow.
They freeze really well.
That's good news, actually.
It's great stuff.
Now this is the basic pizza. You put the sauce on there.
Just putting the sauce on there,
Okay.
I'm going to use my hands, I'm going to be Just put your...
Now, what kind of tools do you use? I'm going to put this over here and save it for a little bit later for dessert, because it really tastes like dessert to me too. And I want to make room for the pizza too. What are some of the tools you use when you travel too? I mean, like when you say these different countries that English isn't the dominant language, what do you do? How do you manage that?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Google Translate is fantastic.
Wow.
You can, first of all, I'm going to say this right out, is like English is the world's second language. It's rare that you really have to worry about it. The place that probably was the most challenging as far as the language was Taipei.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would see that would be.
Taipei, Taiwan.
Yeah.
But even so, Google Translate.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's like
what
a
it is.
traditional pizza.
There
I
you
love
go.
it. Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll just put this in here for a couple minutes, and it'll be done.
Okay, sounds great.
Remind me.
Sure. That's a good idea. So you use, most people, you can find somebody that speaks English is what you're saying.
Without a problem,
Okay.
without a problem. And then the biggest thing probably is Google Maps,
Oh.
just to get around.
Oh, that sounds like a good plan, yes.
Yeah, because we don't bring a car, we don't have a car.
Well, and I think that would be so exciting because, you know, you're off the beaten path. You're not at all just and again, this is brave, you know, you're off the beaten path. And, but you have an opportunity to see how people really live, like you said.
Right.
And that's so important.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, that's the fun thing. And it's really kind of interesting to see some of the differences in the culture is pretty surprising. Like Taipei probably was the most different. And one of the things that was really kind of eye-opening there is people don't cook in Taipei.
Really?
No. They really
Why?
don't.
How do they eat?
They have these night markets in the streets,
Oh,
and
yes, I've
most
seen.
of the time people just will buy their food on the way home from work or whatever and pick it up. And many apartments in Taipei don't even have a kitchen.
Wow. Well, you do see all this on the network shows where they have street vendors and they're making the dishes right
Well,
there.
that's what happens.
So you get immersed in the community, and when you're in that environment, when you're in the neighborhood, you must learn much more about the culture and what they do. How do you go about your day? What do you do?
What do I do? Well, we have guidebooks. We have friends that we meet there that will tell us where we should go. Taipei, the food was so different, and they eat in night markets or street markets. People don't cook there.
Wow.
A lot of apartments don't even have kitchens.
Really?
Really.
So most of the vendors are outside, and you just get a meal there.
People walk home from work or wherever, and they just get the meals there. And in fact, there was a little grocery store near us in Taipei, and I did find some raw chicken, and I bought it to bring it home, and my neighbor saw it, and she goes, "You know what to do with that? You know how to cook that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know how to cook chicken." So they really don't. They just don't. Okay.
Oh, that looks good.
So here is your pizza.
Oh, that's lovely. And that looks very traditional.
It does, and you'll be surprised. There's your pizza. We eat these.
You eat these a lot.
We do. We
Yeah.
do. And always when we have burgers, we always
Thank you.
see what you think.
On it already. Now it just came out of the oven, so we might want to let it cool a
It's
second.
probably a little
Yeah,
warm.
it's steamy. I don't want to burn myself. But Sue, one thing I do like too is that you're a very accomplished woman.
Well, thank you.
You're an author. Mm-hmm. You write for
I write for Cokesbury, which is the publishing house for the United Methodist Church.
And
I
then-
write adult curriculum.
And you do that on a daily basis, don't
Yes,
you?
yes, yeah.
And so you can do that all over the world.
It's
yeah.
a great little job for me because I can bring it wherever I go, and I incorporate a lot of the things that I see from other cultures into my writing.
Do you visit different temples and ashrams? And
I do, and it's really, really interesting.
What have you seen around the world that unites us? A lot of things that you see that's in common with a lot of the cultures that you've been in.
You know, you're the first person that asked me that, but it's a great question. I think, you know, people love their families, you know, and so just spending time with people and their families and their homes is great. People are always excited to talk to people from other places. And when we go somewhere, we're the person from the other place. So
Oh, I guess you are. Yeah.
So we become interesting people.
Oh, that's always fun if it ever happens.
Which is really kind of fun. You
Well,
know?
you can pull from all the different countries that you've been to, too, and see the commonality. I think that's so funny. Because I know in cooking, roux and gravies are made and started with the same kind of combination of ingredients to make different stews and soups and things like that. So I would imagine there's a lot of things that unite us that we're very similar in around the world, and you get to see it firsthand.
It's true.
That's pretty
it's
neat.
a fun life. It's a fun life.
Well, that's cool. Let's try this pizza. Okay.
See what you think.
Okay.
It does taste like a pizza, doesn't it? Which you wouldn't think, because
It's great. It's a good light crust for the pizza. As well as the mango, it gives you a little bit lighter touch and a lighter feeling in digestive wise, and you feel better than if you've eaten a loaf of bread or you've used a crust, a traditional crust.
But I will tell you that these can be very filling.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, when you eat a burger with 2 of these, it's a big meal.
Oh.
It feels like you've eaten more than when you just eat it with a roll.
Really?
Yeah,
well,
it
that's
does.
fascinating.
So yeah, it can be very filling.
Now, what are the other combinations that you do on a general basis?
I'm going to make you the jalapeno popper one.
Okay, that sounds great.
So, mostly because it's the most different than this one, because I use a cheddar cheese for that, and I use cream cheese in it.
Okay.
And I think, let me see how soft this cream cheese is, because it's got to mix up in there.
So it needs to be soft, the cream cheese?
Yeah. I guess I can mix that up in there.
Okay.
Yeah, I had it sitting out for a little bit. Sometimes I zap it in the microwave. But anyway.
Here, I'll be your sous chef there.
All right. I'm going to start with the egg.
Oh, there's a good idea. I'm not a very good sous chef. Sorry about that.
No, you're sous chef.
Sous chef, that's it. Loving it.
So.
Now, Al, your husband, he also keeps working when y'all travel. Is that right?
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Well, that's a good gig.
Yeah, it all works out. He does a lot of. Well, one of the things he does is he works for American University, and he does online classes, which means sometimes he has to get up in the middle of the night.
Oh, I guess so. Time change, yes.
Yeah, sometimes it can be kind of challenging. But then he does a lot of consulting work as well.
Nice.
So I just put the egg in there, the cream cheese. I'm going to put about a half a cup of the shredded cheddar, a little bit less because we got the cream cheese in there.
Okay.
Right?
Now, how active physically do you feel like you need to be if you're a traveler like this? Do you feel like you have to be in semi-good shape or excellent shape, or what would you say?
Well, we don't bring a car, so we walk everywhere pretty much, or use public transportation. So you do want to be in pretty good shape to do that.
But you choose a location possibly because of that? Is that part of it as well?
For being in shape?
Or for being in a community that you can get to things pretty easily?
We have found that we like being in cities or large towns. I just put the jalapenos in.
I'll say you did. Man,
yeah.
I hope you have some water.
I just put some jalapenos in.
Okay.
And then I'm going to put in a little bit of the almond flour.
Okay.
And that's it.
Do you use almond flour for anything else?
Mostly for this.
Yeah. Okay.
Mostly for this. Sometimes I use it for breading on like meat if I'm gonna.
Oh, that's a good idea. So then it's a little, but then you still get the crunch. Excellent idea.
But mostly for this. This is pretty much what I use my almond flour for. When to choose a place, it's interesting that you would ask. That's a good question. We find that what the best places really are places that have a lot of history to them, that you can look back and say, well, that was like one of the centers of trade in, the 1500s or something.
Oh, yeah.
Because then there's infrastructure there, there's a history there. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's an interesting place. It's different than the United States,
Well, and history is a long period of time for a lot of other countries.
Yeah.
And so you have a lot to pull from, that's for sure.
Right.
Oh, let me see that. Hold on a minute. I want to look at the goopiness of that. Oh, yeah.
That's what it looks like.
So it always looks like that, no matter what the ingredients are.
Right.
It always looks like that.
If it's not that goopy, it's not going to work. That's the
goop.
That's the goop ratio you want.
Sounds good.
All right. So, yeah, so like Krakow was wonderful as a place because it used to be one of the major trade routes in Eastern Europe. Lisbon, we were only in Lisbon. I didn't go on the list because we were only in Lisbon for 9 days and COVID hit and we had to come home.
Oh, that must have been heartbreaking.
Oh, it was, because man, it looked like a great place. I want to go back. But Lisbon was the middle of the world, the middle of where it was all happening for a while. Florence, we were in Florence, which was...
That sounds expensive for 3 months.
No.
Really?
Not really.
Wow.
I mean, if you're living there, depending on where you're living, it's how often you go out to eat, how, what you're doing that way. And so Florence really wasn't...
That's good news.
Wasn't that bad. I'm thinking the most expensive places other than places in the States that we were in was probably Sydney.
Oh, so that was one of your latest trips was going to Australia.
Right.
Now, a lot of people talk about that. Now, what's it like to go for 3 months versus 9 days,
To Australia?
Yeah.
Well, Australia was kind of funny because it's probably the most like the United States.
Wow.
It was like, we said people sounded like they were from Boston. They drove on the wrong side of the road. But like you even saw the same things in the supermarkets and stuff.
Wow. Well, that's kind of refreshing if that's your first kind of dip in the water.
It's a comfortable place,
nice.
But I almost felt like it wasn't exotic enough.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
so it was kind of nice, to go to Ljubljana and Chiang Mai after that.
Oh, yeah.
Chiang
That's
Mai
totally
was
different.
Pretty exotic.
Now, there are some cities that stay up all night. Where do you find those? I mean, are you more not in that area?
Generally not. I mean, we don't really like to be where all the tourists are. That's part of it. We like to sleep. If you got an apartment over a bar, you're not. You really don't want that. There's two key things we look for. That's going to be around our apartment when we try to find an apartment.
What is that?
A grocery store and a school.
A school?
A school, because what that's telling me is that that's where the real people live.
Wow.
It's where
the families.
It's where the families live. It's where the people that, you're not going to be in the business district. You're not going to be in the tourist district if it has those two things.
That makes sense.
And so you're going to meet people that are... You're going to meet the grandmas in the parks with their grandkids when you go out and sit and talk to them. You're going to meet the people, and that's what's really important to us, is making those connections.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So how are these coming?
Well, give them a minute or two.
Let's see. What does it look halfway through? What does that look like?
Well,
you can't open it. That's the deal.
It's going to get all mucky.
Okay, good point. Good
right,
point.
So you don't really want to open it halfway through.
Yeah, have you ever made a bad one that you've like, ugh, never going to make that again?
Good question. When I was getting ready to do this, I tried out a couple recipes that I found online, and there was one that used coconut flour. We wound up, the dogs loved them.
The dog. There you go. So if you dog treats, if you want.
That's a dog treat.
Oh, excellent.
We really the flavor was fine, but the texture was like sawdust.
Okay.
We were really not happy with that.
So that's the almond flour is the way to go.
I would really go. Do it with the almond flour. If you read a recipe and it says coconut flour, maybe move on. I would say.
Okay.
I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
That sounds
so,
great. Well, you're always going to make a mistake. I bought this new cookbook, Wide Open. because I saw a video for Architectural Digest where this guy, Benny Blinko, I think his name is, and he seemed like a wild guy, and he had this cookbook. And I thought, wow, that'd be so great. And he has in there where they have parties and they do all kinds of exotic things, but he tells you some of the ingredients that you keep in your pantry at all times. What are some of the things that you keep in your pantry knowing that you're going to be traveling? What do you like to keep in the pantry?
You mean when I travel? Or
Well, yeah, but I know so Sue and I she went to Charleston and she invited the book club to come stay with her during her nesting period in Charleston, and that was so easy to do.
That was so much fun.
But the funny thing is that you had gone to Costco, which I thought was so cool, in Charleston. So is there like things that you buy right away when you go to different countries that are staples in the cabinet when you are there for a period of time?
Yeah, you do need them. And it's different places have different staples, you know. You know, you always need some kind of oils and that type of thing. I don't cook from scratch quite as much when I'm traveling, because oftentimes the kitchens are not very robust. Like in Chiang Mai, I didn't have an oven. Ooh. I had 2 burners.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like dorm days.
Yeah.
In college.
Yeah, exactly. In Taipei, it was similar. You know, as I said, they don't usually cook.
Well, space is such an issue too. I mean,
I have quite a gorgeous kitchen here, and
but in
I'm like
the
cooking.
population, everybody lives very close in very small quarters, so that makes so much sense.
Here we go. Here we go.
And these are the poppers.
These are the jalapeno poppers.
Okay, I'm gonna scoot my feet over so I can have some of that.
Yeah.
I got a lot of eating to do, but it's so fascinating to talk to you. I can't not.
I'm having fun.
Oh.
So here you go.
All right, let me try one of these. It's got to cool a minute, but it's very crispy and very nice. So do you find much different consistency between the cheddar and the mozzarella?
I think you will. This one tastes the most like, my husband referred to it as more like a quesadilla almost.
Ooh.
So I think like I would, well, the pizzas I would too, but I think they would be a great thing to make like when people are over for the ball games. And you could use that, you could put that out with dips and stuff too, I think. Just cut it into strips, you know, and people could use that as...
Ooh, that jalapeno is warm, yeah.
Yeah.
It hits, it does, because it's so warm too. It's heated up. Yeah, that's delicious too. My favorite's the pizza.
Your favorite's the pizza?
I did like the pizza, but I do like the popper. Because you can really get the cheese flavor, especially when they come out of the cooker.
Oh, they're the best when they come out. That's when
delicious.
you really want to eat it right after they come out.
I bet my grandkids could do this too, you know?
You know what? I'm going to tell you this. My niece, who has 5 little kids.
Ooh, a saint, I'd say.
her kids, I've taught them how to do this because we've come and stayed with them when they've been between au pairs because she works from home. And I bought each of them their own little mini dash, and they can make these themselves.
Wow, teach them to fish, and they fish for a lifetime. There you go.
They do, and they make them. They make these chaffles for their. They're really proud that they can make them for mom and dad when they want to make a breakfast for them in the morning, and that's the thing they make.
Well, that's so wonderful.
So, because it's really easy. It's 3 ingredients.
You're right, and then you just add your own flavor.
Right.
How about that?
Right.
Well, thank you for letting us come and learn all about this and the variety of what you can do with them.
Right.
And the health aspect of it too. I really, really love that. Thank you for doing this. Now, these are some of the other options that you've done before,
These are some of the other options.
What do we have here?
Well, I have a pumpkin one. One of these is plain. This is a churro. This is a churro one with cinnamon and on it, and so it's more like a dessert one. And then this is the popper that I just
had.
made.
That's delicious.
And then this is garlic bread. There's like a garlic bread one, which this is the one that I put the Parmesan cheese in, and the Italian spices and garlic, and so
you could do this with like. You know how you can make noodles with zucchini, and you can make spaghetti with that, and then you could have the garlic bread. You're just like you're eating an Italian dish, huh?
You could eat Italian with no carbs.
This
how crazy
platter is beautiful.
Well, thank you. That came from Sarajevo.
Wow,
The Tinsmith Alley in Sarajevo.
Wow.
Yeah.
So many great travels. Well, Sue, thank you so much for letting us come
Oh,
over
it's been
today.
so much
I just
fun.
love you. You're so great.
It's been so much fun.
But I feel healthier already. Let's
Well,
just say
good.
that. Okay?
That's good.
If you have a recipe that's easy, if you'll contact Mary Jane Warner 2501 at gmail.com, we'd love to show your recipe on Cooking at the Lake. Thanks so much for joining us and have a great day.